So hello my friends, Devaun Lennox here, PhotographyPX. In today's video we'll cover the main highlight features and do an overview of Sony's Alpha 1, also known as the A1. Do know you can find timestamps and links in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment. And also know this is not a sponsored video. Let's get started. Released in the spring of 2021, Sony's Alpha 1 or A1 is their current flagship camera, and on paper it's a flagship indeed in the truest sense. The Alpha 1 is a full-frame high-resolution 50 megapixel camera that aims to impress photographers and videographers alike, and it comes to market as the second mirrorless camera boasting 8K video recording, yet it simultaneously obtains many of the tireless improvements and niche features from the A7R, A9, A7S, and FX series cameras. As such, it's a camera Sony aims as a one-stop solution for literally everyone, and one that's built without compromises. In many respects, the Alpha 1 is the culmination of their entire ecosystem into a single body, and it's a camera that questions the title of, quote, the greatest camera ever. Bold claim indeed. But with a starting price of a Leica, it indeed would seem that way. It's a camera Sony positions to compete with Canon's EOS R5 and Leica's SL2, but it simultaneously challenges Canon's 1DX Mark III and Nikon's D6, each the DSLR kings. At its core, the Alpha 1 houses a newly developed 50.1 megapixel full-frame Exmor RS backside illuminated CMOS sensor and the Bion's XR processing engine. Like the A9 II, the sensor uses a stacked back illuminated design with integrated memory, letting the camera produce 15 plus stops of dynamic range for stills. But this new XR processor achieves better color accuracy than previous models, mixing the accuracy of the A7S Mark III with the pleasing rendering found in the FX6 cinema camera. This camera also debuts with a newly designed dual-driven shutter, which improves its flash sync speeds. Now the camera can sync with compatible flashes at 1/400th of a second with a mechanical shutter, or 1/500th using the APS-C crop mode, and 1/200th of a second using the electronic shutter. This is the result of faster sensor readout speeds from the stacked design and 8 times better processing from the Bion's XR engine. And it's the first Alpha series camera to obtain these capabilities. It also obtains a new HIF image format, which strikes a balance between high color accuracy of RAW, but with file sizes of JPEG. These files have better color accuracy given they have 10-bit 422 color, and this lets them produce better dynamic range, smoother gradations, and better latitude than JPEGs alone. It also has in-camera HDR. It obtains the new light JPEG size. Sony's finally added the lossless compressed RAW format, which offers a similar detail as an uncompressed RAW file, but these files find creative ways to reduce the file size, cutting them roughly in half from 104 megabytes to 57 megabytes. Sony's also added the anti-dust function, which sets whether or not to close the shutter when you turn off the camera. Turning it off prevents any unwanted dust from entering onto the sensor. The continuous shooting speeds have also vastly improved on this camera thanks to the Bion's XR engine's optimized processing. Now the camera can shoot 30 frames per second at full resolution with autofocus and auto exposure capabilities using the electronic shutter, or you can shoot at 10 frames per second using the mechanical shutter, and the buffer depth and clearing speeds have also improved. Now the camera can record 155 compressed RAW frames or 182 JPEGs in a single burst of 30 frames per second. On the video front, this camera obtains largely similar capabilities as the A7S Mark III and the FX6 cinema camera. Thus, it's a strong contender as a video camera despite its high-resolution sensor. But unlike these cameras, it now brings 8K 30p video along with grabbing both of their 4K 120p and 1080p Full HD 240p modes. And it shoots all formats in 10-bit color with 422 subsampling. The camera shoots 8K 30p video at full sensor width by oversampling from an 8.6K readout. Doing so produces outstanding sharpness and lifelike realism, and it also lets you crop 200% into the frame without losing any detail. For 4K, it uses a form of pixel binning to downscale its resolution for UHD recording. However, using the 4K Super 35 mode does oversample from a 5.8K readout. Even so, the camera offers unlimited recording time, and the heat dissipation design lets you record upwards of 3 hours continuously. photography. The camera also obtains Sony's full suite of picture profiles and gammas, including Cine 1 through 4, S-Gamut, S-Gamut 3, S-Gamut 3 Cine, Rec 709, HLG, and S-Log 2 and 3. But it also receives the S-Cinetone profile debuted on the Venice Cinema camera. This profile provides a distinct color rendering with natural midtones, pleasing colors, and a soft highlight roll-off. And with this selection, it'll be easy to match the colors here to any of Sony's professional cinema lineup. Sony's S-Log also produces 15 plus stops of dynamic range, and the hybrid log gamma profile now supports the wide gamut BT 2020 color space for HDR recording. The camera also obtains the slow and quick recording mode from the A7S Mark III. It obtains gamma display assist to help monitor log footage. It has zebras for exposure warning indication, and it features proxy recording. Plus, it can output a clean 16-bit 4.3K 60p signal via HDMI for use with external recorders. Low light performance is excellent despite the sensor's high pixel count and resolution, and the back illuminated structure helps greatly here. Plus, the camera debuts with dual gain output, maximizing the dynamic range at its low setting and low light high ISO performance at its high setting. But it features a native ISO range from ISO 100 to 32,000, further expandable to a low setting of 50 and a high setting of 102/400. The dual gain ranges do vary based on the picture profile used, but even so, users can expect usable results up to ISO 12,800 or 25,600 with minor processing across all settings. For focus, the sensor's design and updated Bion's XR engine also boasts a redesigned autofocusing system that outshines even the flagship A9 Mark II. In this case, the camera has a 759-point fast hybrid AF system covering 92% of the imaging area. The system incorporates 795 phase detect points and 425 contrast for quick and precise autofocusing. And the system offers AF support at light levels of -4 EV. With this new iteration, Sony's taken the opportunity to update the real-time IAF functionality too, and they've refined this advanced AI-based system for humans and animals, now including a dedicated bird mode. So now the camera lets you select a bird to track, and it can automatically detect its eye and follow it across the frame. It's not 100% perfect, as this is a first-generation implementation, but it works quite well, whether they're moving on the ground or in flight. And it's an innovative function that helps remove some of the challenges of bird photography. Sony's also updated the tracking for animals, now supporting tracking if their faces are upside down, and animal tracking works for most animals, not just dogs and cats. It also obtains AF customization options from the A7S Mark III and the FX6. In this case, AF tracking sensitivity, transition speed, and subject shift sensitivity. These settings let you adjust the tracking speed and the overall stickiness for the best results, or to isolate subjects in busy scenes. The camera also offers focus magnification and peaking if you prefer manually focusing. It uses the NP-Z100 battery, and battery life is excellent for a high-resolution mirrorless camera. Expect 430 shots per charge, or 90 minutes of video when using the viewfinder, or 530 when using the LCD. For displays, it obtains the same 3-inch wide-type TFT tilting touchscreen LCD from the A7S Mark III, and it too offers a resolution of 1.44 million dots and tilts down 107 degrees and upwards 41 degrees. It also provides the sunny weather mode, which is available for all shooting and recording modes. Plus, the camera obtains the same Quad XGA OLED TrueFinder EVF from the A7S Mark III as well, and it marks the second camera with this exclusive configuration. Like the Mark III, it boasts a resolution of 9.44 million dots and a large 0.9 times magnification that rivals the human eye. Unlike the A7S though, this iteration also has added refresh rates, now at 240 Hz, doubling the 120 Hz industry standard. As such, the viewfinder is much better at smoothing movement, which is particularly helpful when tracking a subject at 30 frames per second, and it's unbelievably responsive now. Physically, this camera uses a familiar shape, design, and build as the A7S Mark III, A9 Mark II, and A7R Mark IV. So if you're an existing owner of any of these cameras, you'll find this camera immediately familiar. But that said, it offers excellent ergonomics, balance, and handling, and at only 737 grams with battery and SD card installed, it's not overly heavy or bulky in hand, but it's quite robust, and it uses a similar rigid magnesium alloy construction with extensive sealing around all body seams as the A9 Mark II. But with this model, Sony's enhanced the weather sealing detailing around the terminal cover, chassis joints, and battery cover, and the lens also now has a lock button to create an even tighter seal there too. Plus, they've added more lens mount attachment screws to improve the mount strength and rigidity when using larger lenses. Additionally, it offers a new heat dissipation structure to prevent overheating when recording 8K resolution without increasing the camera's size. So overall, the design here is excellent, well refined, and the best of the Alpha line to date. But outside of that, the camera also features 5-axis in-body stabilization, built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC connectivity, now with 2x2 MIMO support, pixel shift multi-shooting, several bracket options including white balance, exposure bracketing, and dynamic range bracketing, dual card slots, Sony's clear image zoom, a microphone input, a headphone output, a full-size HDMI port, the interval shot function, a fully silent electronic shutter, Sony's multi-interface hot shoe, a USB port which supports USB 3.2 Gen 1, an Ethernet port for wired LAN connections, the anti-flicker shooting function, a dedicated PC sync terminal, in-camera rating, several in-camera lens compensation options including shading, chromatic aberration, and distortion compensation, and a movable white balance point from the A7R Mark IV. In the end, Sony's A1 not only becomes their ultimate camera, but it's arguably the best camera ever released. It's mind-blowing to see them continue to innovate model after model, and this release shows they're truly the ones to beat now. For years, they've been the underdogs pushed in the corner by the likes of Canon and Nikon DSLRs, but finally, nearly a decade later, the tides have turned, and boy, the comeback was legendary. Earlier this year, we would have argued that the Canon EOS R5 was the best mirrorless camera ever released, but somehow Sony's been able to top that camera in virtually every regard, and the A1 now stands as the ultimate camera for journalists, sports, wedding, fashion, product, and commercial photographers, and one that brilliantly blends their acclaimed A7R Mark IV, A9 Mark II, and A7S III, all of which are leaders in their respective classes. Even so, it's a doubly powerful video camera that rivals their new FX6 cinema camera in many aspects, and it bests even the A7S Mark III in several unique ways too. As it stands, this is the new benchmark in excellence, and a benchmark that even outdoes Canon's 1DX Mark III and Nikon's D6 flagships. Sure, it's a camera most creators will only dream of owning, and one that many will bat an eyebrow at when looking at its price. But if any camera besides a Leica is to deserve such a price, the A1 is it. And if you want the best, well, this is it. So there you have it, my friends. There are the highlights in the overview of Sony's A1. For more information on the A1, check out our website, photographypx.com, and there you will see a full detailed written review, as well as other reviews that may be of interest to you. You can also look at the pinned comment in the description down below, and I'll take you right to the full post as well. I've been your host, Devaun Lennox. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you found the contents of today's video insightful and it added value to you. If you're new here, please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Also, leave us a like and a comment in the description down below. Let us know if we overlooked something or we missed something that we covered in today's video. I've been your host, Devaun Lennox, photography.com.